Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Thursday, March 2nd. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Indiana game is in 184 days, the game against Michigan in 268 days. We're going to be talking a lot about the present of Ohio State football next week when spring football kicks off on Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the past of Ohio State football and the NFL Combine, and also potentially the future of Ohio State football and reaching way into the future and the 2026 recruiting class and one of the biggest names in the nation that Ohio State's chasing right there. And Kevin Noon of Buckeye Huddle has been in a whole bunch of different places, chasing a whole bunch of different football-related stuff over the last week or so. He is on the road right now, coming to us from Indianapolis, Indiana, home of the NFL Combine. Kevin, I guess let's start with a quick rundown of where you've gone and who you've seen over the last week or so and who you're going to be seeing in the next few days.
Yeah, exactly. It started off with heading down to Cincinnati, and we went to Withrow High School and saw Chris Henry Jr. and Ryan Nichols, and then we went to Winton Woods and saw a pair of talented players there. Then we went down to Atlanta to the Under Armour camp, and then on our way back, we stopped at Cincinnati Anderson High School. I was home for 15 hours, switched bags, and then headed off to Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine, and I will be here through Saturday, late afternoon, early evening, and then I'm going home to go sleep for a while. No, I'm not. We have a new puppy, so I'm sure I will be on housebreaking duty as soon as I get home.
And then Tuesday, right back to Ohio State, and we start spring football coverage. So yes, it is. I heard rumors of an off season. That does not sound a lot like an off season to me. Let's, I guess, start with where you are right now and the NFL Combine. Wednesday, I had to think about what day it was. Wednesday was sort of the start of things, and the first Buckeye who you guys get a chance to talk to was Zach Harrison. Zach Harrison, obviously defensive end, graduated Ohio State this year, now trying to make his way into the pros. He seems like someone who's probably going to test pretty well at that combine, but you get a chance to talk to him. This is the first time we get a chance to talk to him since the end of the Peach Bowl. That was something that got, obviously, unsurprisingly brought up. What were Zach Harrison's thoughts now looking back on the Peach Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of reiterated that Ohio State didn't go into the game thinking that they were an underdog. They felt that was a game they absolutely could win, and it just didn't happen. And quote unquote, it sucks. I mean, the way that it ended, but they felt that they were there, and they proved a lot. And you never want to go out all, and they felt that it was a game that they could, would, and should win, and it didn't end up happening. I mean, obviously there was a play late when the Ohio State defense was on the field, and Zach Harrison came so close to making a big play, and it just how football works. And now you move on to the next challenge, which is the NFL Scouting Combine, and he'll be doing his testing, and we'll be hearing his name pretty early in the draft, in my opinion.
Yeah, he feels like someone who you keep seeing him projected kind of on the fringes of the first round, maybe early second, but someone who's going to not probably have to wait too long to hear his name called during the draft. As of right now, as of the time we're recording this, he has not done all of his testing yet, but he figures to test pretty well. And then wherever he gets picked, this is going to be kind of the next step in his life for him, because he is a Columbus kid, went to Olentangy Orange High School just outside of Columbus, then went to school at Ohio State. Columbus does not have an NFL team, so this is going to be, a little bit of a next step. And I know that was something else that he talked about today a little bit, just sort of explaining, this is I went pretty far away from home to go to college. This is now kind of that time that he's really kind of leaving home for the first time for real.
Yeah, he used the term spread his wings, and he's excited. He talked about his love for Columbus and all the opportunities he had there, but this will be his first chance to go away from home. He's not going to be able to go home to get laundry done or for meals or whatever, short of his family moving and following him. But he's not going to be in Columbus unless some sort of radical expansion happens in the National Football League that I'm unaware of. So even if he gets picked by Cincinnati or Cleveland, he's still a couple hours away, but it'll be a good opportunity. I, like you, went pretty far away from home when I chose Ohio State to go there. So, he's getting to do it now here at 22 or whatever, rather than 18 or 17 in my case.
Yeah, he's going to be doing it with probably a little more money than both of us had on our Buckeye IDs way back in the day as well. So,
what's a Buckeye ID? We didn't even have those.
Yeah. sorry, the stone, whatever the stone tablets they gave you when you checked in for freshman orientation, when you were a freshman. Yes, however much money you had on your stone tablet back in the day.
We paid in gold nuggets.
Yeah, that's he'll probably be able to out nugget you once he gets that rookie contract signed wherever that is this upcoming season. So Zach Harrison was obviously the Ohio State focus. He was not the main focus though on Wednesday at the NFL Combine. The main focus there was a guy who was supposed to be interviewed and then was not interviewed for a fairly shocking reason. That is Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle for Georgia. Boy, that was an eventful Wednesday morning. Can you just kind of fill people in on the story there and what's going on with that?
Yeah, exactly. Just first and foremost, I've covered, I think this is at least 14 NFL scouting combines for me. I've been here through a lot of different things of players that maybe have had some off the field things or just some very newsy things, but never anything quite like this. On Wednesday morning, the news came out that a warrant was issued for the arrest of Jalen Carter. There was implications that he was involved, maybe potentially in allegations that there was a drag race that led to that tragic event, the car crash that claimed the life of a Georgia staffer and a Georgia football player. We were kind of left in the dark for a little bit. I don't think anybody was really under the impression that they were going to trot him out there at that point. The 10 o'clock hour was the hour that he was supposed to come out. He was supposed to talk at 10:30. It completely wiped out most of the 10 o'clock session and all of the 10:30 session. So it was a very unique situation that was going on there as everybody was kind of just trying to figure it out, and more details were starting to kind of come out. But very, very unfortunate situation. I mean, obviously, when we're talking about an accident that claimed the lives of two young people, injured another player, it's still a developing story and something that I'm sure we're going, to talk about a lot. And, people will sit there and talk about maybe the Laramie Tunsil situation going into draft night, where video surfaced that kind of really affected his situation. I mean, there's a big difference between hotboxing yourself with like a World War I gas mask with marijuana versus, what we're talking about here with Jalen Carter. So, I'm not going to get into a lot of details that I don't know, but I mean, what I do know is it was a very awkward morning.
Yeah, that is, you had a picture of the crowd around the podium where I think everyone sort of assumed he probably was not going to talk. And it was, we have covered a lot of significant events over the years, and that was about as big of a crowd as I have ever seen around any kind of a podium at any sort of event. So yeah, that is undoubtedly going to be a big story moving forward into the NFL draft process and the combine and all that kind of stuff. Just real quickly, can you let people know what else is coming this week? As you and Marc Givler are there covering the combine all week, can you let people know, who else you can kind of keep an eye out for in the coming days with the Buckeyes?
Well, obviously here on the Ohio State side of things, they still have several more players. On Thursday, we're getting Ronnie Hickman and Cam Brown. Then we will get JSN and CJ Stroud on Friday. And then on Saturday, we get the offensive linemen with Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones and with Luke Whippler. So, I mean, we're going to have full coverage of all the Buckeyes who are there. And then, of course, too, you can check us out over at College Football Playbook, where we're posting a lot more videos of other players of interest. So, that's a good opportunity if you really enjoy the combine process and hearing these players talk, where they're not necessarily under the thumb of their respective sports information directors about you can say this and you can't say that. It's always very interesting to kind of get the insights, because there are a lot of times that we just hear players who get just so twisted up because they're told not to say anything. And then we get them in this type of setting where it's a lot more free to speak. And it's like, wow, I really did not know this about this guy or that guy.
Yeah, those are always really interesting interviews. I will throw a link to the College Football Playbook channel, YouTube channel, in the post for this on the front page of BuckeyeHuddle.com. I'm going to try to do that. We'll see if I remember. I have a good feeling. I'm crossing my fingers on that one. But so that is the former Buckeyes that we're talking about and that are going to be in the news this week. Now let's talk about one future Buckeyes. Right off the top of the show, we ran through your very, very busy week doing the It's a Mad, 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 Mad World thing all around Ohio and the Southeast, chasing various football recruits around. And one of the names, probably the biggest name just in terms of name recognition at least, is Chris Henry Jr., son of the former Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver. He is someone who last year, before his freshman year of high school, earned an offer at Ohio State camp as a wide receiver, and Brian Hartline is not someone who just throws offers out to just anyone. You got a chance to sit down with him, I guess, at his school last week. What did you hear from Chris Henry Jr.?
Yeah, very impressive young man. You would think somebody that kind of grew up in the NFL world and, obviously the way too early passing of his dad, but his legal guardian is Adam Pac-Man Jones. So, I mean, he's still in that NFL sphere. And you might expect somebody who would either be very arrogant, or maybe somebody who might even be a little bit bitter to just, have things taken away the way that they were. But I mean, that was not the impression I got from him. Just a great young kid. He walks into the room and he is every bit of 6'5". This isn't some, SID assistant fudging the number in the roster. I mean, he is legit 6'5". But you look at him, he's very baby-faced, still has braces. He's still a young kid at this point, but he's going to be very impressive. And I think he's going to be somebody that's not going to let this whole recruiting process get to his head, because, I mean, he told us during the interview that he talks to T. Higgins all the time and kind of models himself after T. Higgins. I think that if you sit there and you're around football at the highest of levels, you're not going to allow yourself to get caught up just because you have a couple few offers in football. And he's not going to end up with a couple few offers. He's going to have every offer that he wants. I mean, it's going to be one of these things where I think whoever's running databases will just have to kind of pick and choose the ones that they put in there, because realistically, they're going to be ones that just probably don't belong in there.
Yeah, and, he is, again, a 2026 prospect, so we are still a long way away. Probably not someone who's on commitment watch in the next week or two. But do you have any sense for how his recruitment might shake out? Did he give you any sense for a timetable, any sense for, what some of the kind of key deciding factors he's going to be looking at in terms of his process, and, where the Ohio State offer stands in relation to any of the other ones he's gotten?
I mean, I certainly like Ohio State's chances there. I mean, an in-state kid. I mean, again, he's not going to necessarily fall in love with the program just because of its star power, just based on what his experiences are. But I think that as long as Brian Hartline is involved in the Ohio State offense, as long as Brian Hartline is coaching the position, that's going to be something that's going to be very important to him, because I think he can recognize how important coaching is to be able to maximize the talents of these athletes, to be able to unlock more than maybe what they can go out and just do on their own. So, I think that I'm not ready to put Ohio State down in pen, because he is a 2026, and a lot can happen at that point. But I feel pretty comfortable in saying that I think Ohio State is very much going to be a factor. But the people are going to be taking a lot of swings to try and get him. But if I'm an Ohio State fan, and I assume everybody who's watching this is, I certainly feel better that this is a kid who's growing up in Cincinnati within the state of Ohio, versus trying to recruit this kid out of South Florida or something like that, where there's not necessarily the location bias.
Well, I'm sure this will not be the last time we talk about Chris Henry Jr. on this show. Obviously, a very big name and a very, very coveted recruit, and someone who we're going to be, a story we're going to be tracking, let's safe to say, for the next few years. Because, and boy, all the twists and turns. Yeah, he's not from South Florida. Think about how different the recruiting environment is now than it was, 3 years ago, before NIL and all that kind of stuff. So what is all that going to look like by the time it's the class of 2026's turn on the center stage? I don't even want to guess. Could be a lot of stuff to change between now and then, but whatever it is that changes, the best place to follow along with all of it is at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Should have a lot of great content this week, from not only from that trip down south that Mark and Kevin made, but also from the Combine in Indy this week. You obviously, as you heard Kevin say, got a lot of Buckeye coverage on the Buckeye Huddle YouTube channel, but you want coverage of a lot of other big names, former college football stars, future NFL stars. You can find that all on the College Football Playbook channel at youtube.com/@CFB Playbook. So I'll put a link to all of that in the front page post for this on BuckeyeHuddle.com. So hope you guys enjoyed that. We will be back with much more coverage of recruiting, maybe some more coverage of the Combine, coverage, of course, of the upcoming spring football season, all on this show, on Buckeye Weekly, on our YouTube channels, and of course at BuckeyeHuddle.com. So make sure you check all of those out. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.